Hi everyone, I hope everyone is doing very well. Welcome to Daily Decode of 5th November where we decode the Hindu newspaper, and today we have very important news coming from Canada, then two important editorials which are very important from the perspective of from the places of the workplace and how employees are being treated there, and second importantly the role of women in technology and how technology is dealing with women, or how women is dealing with technology in the context of artificial intelligence, deep fakes, and the example will start something from the presidential candidate or the current Vice President of America, Kamala Harris. So with this, let's start today's important news. But before we proceed, let's go to the thought for the day, and the thought for the day is: life is like riding a bicycle. To keep your balance, you must keep moving forward. So many times when our result, for example, you're giving your prelims or mains and the result does not come in favor of you, you tend to lose the, lose your momentum. You tend to lose that, the failure has come, and you tend to not move forward. In this context, it is very important that sometimes result will be in your favor and sometimes results will not be in your favor. So some days back in a thought for the day, I was telling you, like, if 10 marks, out of 10 marks, 8 are passing and you get 6. That means you're failing by 2 marks. So failure is just exactly telling you what is the amount of effort you need to put more to achieve success or to pass that examination. And for these 2 marks, it is very important that you must keep moving forward whatever comes. You need to move forward, and change is the only constant thing. So with this thought, let's move towards today's important news. So first news: strongly condemn attack on Hindu temple in Canada. Prime Minister Modi has given a very, very strong statement. Rather, this is the first important statement which has come on the India-Canadian fiasco, or the current India-Canada relations. And there has been an attack on Hindu Sabha temple in Brampton, which is near Toronto in Canada. India's manufacturing growth accelerates in October through the numbers which have been given by PMI, that is Purchasing Managers Index. If you remember, we had covered the topic of PMI last month also, and I told you this is a very important news. We'll cover it next month because PMI comes from month to month basis. Then something which new we have introduced as we are approaching towards prelims. So UPSC prelims 2025, in the UPSC prelims impact, what is PMI and what is JPC? So PMI is static area and static area of JPC. PMI I have already covered. You can go and watch the previous lecture also. JPC we would be covering today. We need to address India's workplace culture, a very, very important editorial in the context of what happened with late Anna Sebastian, who used to work in EY or Ernst & Young. So we'll decode it and understand. Then in the editorial, big tech fails unsafe online spaces for women, how women are being sexually subjugated, how deep fakes have been created, and how they have been objectified, specifically from politicians to female leaders. Then Q&A, tidbits and extra mile. So this is what we would be covering today. So let's starting with the first news. PM temple attack. PM urges Canada to uphold the law. So before I move forward, I'll just give you the background. Though I've covered India-Canada relations with you in a lot of details, I'm sure everybody knows. And welcome everyone to the lecture. Good evening everyone. If you have any comment, please put it in the comment box. Do share, like the session, and also press the bell icon. Okay, and a lot of you people are giving good amount of love for these lectures, and you want it to continue, so we would be definitely continuing it. There is no doubt about it. And some of you had asked to create a playlist. The playlist would for the daily decodes would be soon available. Now coming to the background and story of the this particular India-Canada issue. So what happens in the year 2023, Justin Trudeau comes to the parliament and straight away alleges that India is involved in the killing of Hardeep Singh Nijjar, who is related to KTF, or who is a Khalistani sympathizer, Khalistani activist, or Khalistani terrorist, whatever you want to say. Now this allegation comes, then Trudeau meets the Indian Prime Minister in the G20 summit. He puts and he says that, you know, the Indian official or Indian agencies, and for that matter Indian diplomats, are engaged in murder of the Khalistani person Hardeep Singh Nijjar. And for that matter, the most important thing is that till date there has been no proof given by Canadians specifically to this particular murder accusation. And the most ironical thing about this entire fiasco is that Canada is asking the accused, for example, the accused are Indians, so they're asking the Indian diplomats and Indian agencies that you only get the proof that why did you murder the Khalistani Hardeep Singh Nijjar. Now this is, you know, this is something which is very paradoxical in nature, that you are asking an accused to get all the proof to prove that he is the accused. So this only happens in Canada. So now this happened. Now this happened in 2023, and in the month of October, the diplomatic fiasco started between Canada and India in terms. Six diplomat and officers of India were withdrawn, and India also fired, or rather India asked the Canadian diplomats also to leave, and eventually the relationship between India and Canada is hitting the rock bottom. One of the major reasons for this is that Justin Trudeau, which is his party is having seats around 152 to 153. He needs the support of NDP, and NDP, that is New Democratic Party, related to Jagmeet Singh, and this particular person, and NDP, when it comes to NDP, is very important because it is giving those relevant number in seats so that Justin Trudeau's party stays in the power. And that is why the NDP, which is the frontline sympathizer of Khalistanis, and that is why, since they are giving the support to Justin Trudeau is not taking any actions against the Khalistanis. Now moving forward into this, after the diplomats fiasco, then the RCMP, the Royal Canadian Military Police, they also did a meeting, and after that National Security Advisor of Canada plus the Foreign Affairs, the Deputy Foreign Affairs Minister Morrison of Canada, they did two things. First of all, they have put a direct accusation that the National Security Advisor Doval and the Home Minister Amit Shah is related to killing of Canadian citizens. So they have told this, they don't have any proof, and the best part, I'll tell you what is the proof they are talking about. So the National Security Advisor of Canada and the Foreign Affairs and Deputy Foreign Minister, what they did, they wrote an article in Washington Times, not even an article in Canada newspaper on Canada news bulletin, nothing on that. They leaked that information, and they wrote, the Washington Post wrote an article in which all the information were given by the Canadian top ministers or the National Security Advisor. And once that article was published, they used Washington Post because Washington Post has a very high reach, and globally it has high journalistic standard as per many European and American readers, or whatever the people think that it's a big newspaper and everything, and since it has a higher coverage and it is an American newspaper. Now when this article came, these same officers and these same ministers of the Trudeau government said that Washington Post has printed it, and that is why we can accuse the diplomats, and that is why we can accuse. So it is something like that tomorrow, that if I become a minister in the current government and I accuse the Chinese government, and for that I take some newspaper of America and says that I only write and I only get printed that article, and after that I'll start saying that this article says that Xi Jinping was related to this particular murder. So this is the kind of accusation they're putting. They don't have a single proof, and Justin Trudeau on his statements in the front of media has said that he doesn't have any credible evidence. These are only preliminary or very preliminary intelligence reports they have, and they're asking Indian intelligence to get it. And on the basis of that, they told that the Indian diplomats are person of interest, and categorical legal actions would be taken against them, and that is what happened in the month of October, that they were withdrawn and everything, which by now I'm sure you people are aware of. Good evening. Okay, so this I've cleared to you guys. Recent context, India withdrawn 6 diplomats, I've told you, and impact on relation, political and security challenges impacting the Indo-Canada relationship, acquisition against Home Minister, and recently we've also got to know that without asking, they had even put the Indian diplomats and officers under audio and videotape surveillance also. So, and this obviously the statement has come from India that this is harassment and intimidation, and we need to understand when it comes to diplomats, they have immunity also. So they have diplomatic immunity. So Canada labels India as a cyber adversary in the new security report. This is the latest salvo in the India-Canada relationship, and under Justin Trudeau, the relationship between India and Canada is just touching the rock bottom. So as per the National Cyber Threat Assessment 2025-2026 released by Cyber Security, now they have put India in the context of Russia and China, in context of adversary or enemy nations to Canada. So this entire context, or this entire lie fabrication which has been done by Canada and the Prime Minister Justin Trudeau. So the Hitler's propaganda minister, his name was Joseph Goebbels, and he used to say that if your lie is a big lie and you keep on repeating it, eventually people will start trusting that. So you tell a lie big enough and keep repeating it, people will eventually come to believe it, and that is what exactly Canadian ministers or people in the government, or for that matter even the Justin Trudeau, has been doing, continuously saying that India is involved, India is involved. So this is a smear campaign which has been put against India, and Canada is continuously doing it. After, sometimes people might say, okay, he's continuously telling, there might be some truth to it. He also tried to use the Five Eyes alliance, which has New Zealand, Australia, Canada, UK, US. But again, some diplomatic statements came, but we already know that the German Chancellor, though they are not part of the Five Alliance, but in the context of European support which Trudeau was looking, hardly any support came from the Europe, because Europe is much more busy in selling weapons or doing economic deals with India, be it the India-European Union free trade agreement, which is almost on the way to come, and I hope it comes in future very soon, or for that matter the Indo-Europe FTA, or for that matter the Germany and when the Chancellor of Germany Olaf was in India recently, Olaf Scholz was in India recently, Prime Minister of Spain Pedro Sanchez was in India for doing a lot of deals. So this is the context of current the background related to what is happening in Indo-Canada relationship, and I hope that you've understood that the Justin Trudeau has tried everything from his best to put allegation, and it has been very solidly countered by India. So for example, the Sanjay Kumar Sir, India's ex-High Commissioner to Canada, has said Khalistani extremists are being encouraged all the time, and he has used the word that this is my allegation. So when Canadians are saying rather than proof, that is an allegation. Okay. And he also says that I also know that some of these Khalistani extremists and terrorists are deep assets of Canadian Security Intelligence Service. And what happened at the Hindu Sabha temple, where the Hindus were beaten, and the Khalistani, the police was, there are open videos that police was trying to help. The Canadian police was trying to help the Khalistanis, and they were not taking any action against Khalistanis. Indian flags were being burned there. There were a lot of videos which came on Twitter and X. And what important comes out is that one sergeant officer of the Canadian police has also been suspended, because being a duty officer, he was carrying Khalistani flags and supporting them. So this is what the Sanjay Verma sir is also talking about, that Khalistani extremists and terrorists are deep assets of Canadian Security Intelligence Services. Not only they have the Khalistanis have entered the Canadian political sky or Canadian political space, they have also entered, the Khalistanis have also entered the Canadian police, or maybe even the military system, but police system. There are examples which are coming, and this is not what I am saying. This is one of the MPs of Canada which has given a statement on X yesterday. We'll come to that. So this is what has happened. And the diplomats have made it clear that whatever information we get, that those are all overt operation, hypocrisy of West, messiah of P, and this is what Americans are trying to say. Gurpan Singh Pannu straight away give this 6 separatist Pannu issues new terror threat, warns Air India flyers. He said that from this 2nd or the 3rd of November to 19th of November, you should not take Air India. Khalistani terrorist Pannu threat to Air India passengers. So this is what the Americans are trying to save this fellow who openly threatens, if a similar kind of threatening message is passed by an Indian citizens against America, what will they think, and most importantly, what will American do? Everybody knows what America does, but most importantly, Indian legal system will take an action against him, that how are you talking or how are you giving such negative or such dangerous messages against a fellow country and a fellow partner. But again, this shows the hypocrisy of the West. Again, the Canadian media also came out with these reports that Indian media is interfering with the Canadian affairs. So when Canadian media can write anything about it, and they can use Washington Post to write an article which is highly baseless in nature. So if you threaten the Indian High Commissioner, he is supposed to accept as a freedom of speech. But if we write something about that is foreign interference, and you start seeing that YouTube channels and Indian media is doing it. So this is just exposing the hypocrisy of the West, which is again and again many times have been exposed, and this particular case of India-Canada is just showing it. Even in the previous lectures, I have told you that Gurpan Singh Pannu issue or Hardeep Singh Nijjar issue, these issue came very near to the BRICS summit, and how successful BRICS summit happened. Everybody knows. I've spoken about BRICS summit, which happened, the 16th BRICS summit, which happened in Kazan. Even yesterday we were covering about the India-Iran issue, how we are trying to resolve it. So that success of that particular summit, and before that they basically want to use this Pannu issue and the Nijjar issue for leverage against India, okay, geopolitically. Okay. Fozan Firdaus, this is not a political news. This is what is India-Canada internal issue which is going on. Rather, it's an international issue. If a question comes on India-Canada relationship and what is the contemporary problem, how is this is a political issue? If a question comes on Khalistan issue, if a question comes, and question have come on internal security issue on Khalistan, how would you write? You can, for Bhindranwala and everything, you would go on the past, but on the contemporary India-Canada issue, the security issue, this is not a political issue. This is an international issue. This is an internal issue. I think you need to go deep and start studying internal and international issues. Whatever your name is, this is a very important issue. This tells about India-Canada current relationship, and these statements are coming from the Prime Minister, and statements have come from Justin Trudeau, and most importantly this relates to the entire geopolitical scenario. Now coming to the current issue, that some of the Hindus were being attacked out there, specifically in the Hindu Sabha temple, in which the consulate was distributing some life certificates out there. And strong statements came after that. Incidents came from Prime Minister. PM has condemned the violence at the Hindu Sabha temple in the Brampton near Toronto. He stated that such actions will never weaken India's resolve and called for Canadian intervention to ensure justice. Now this is the first time important statements have come from Prime Minister specifically on Indo-Canada issue. Good evening, Umesh. Allegation of surveillance, he also condemned the cowardly surveillance reported targeting the Indian diplomats in Canada, and that is why the Indo-Canada relationship is hitting rock bottom. So diplomatic relation between India and Canada continue to decline with rising concerns about the safety of Indian nationals in Canada. Again, part of international relations, and that is why it is important to understand what is going on. Okay, so anyways, moving forward, External Affairs Ministry concerned, the Ministry of External Affairs expressed worry about the security of Indian nationals in Canada amid escalating protest. Okay. So pro-Khalistani protest, violence occurred when a pro-Khalistani crowd protested Hindu Sabha temple during a consular camp. Disruption and violence happened, and most importantly, some police officers were trying to help the Khalistanis, and one of them was even involved with the Khalistanis. So, but even after that, 1,000 life certificates were given. So condemnation by PM Justin Trudeau, Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau condemned, but most importantly that Justin Trudeau did condemn it and the opposition leader did condemn it, but none of them have said that these disruptions were done by Khalistanis when flags and everything were visible. So these are certain questions which only the opposition leaders of Canadian government or the Prime Minister can answer that. So the acts of violence, these were the tweets which they had done. Reaction from the Canadian political figures, Indo-Canadian MPs criticism, that is your Chandra Aira criticized pro-Khalistani statement, pointing out that that increasing extremism in Canada, and when the extremism will increase in Canada, so when we talk about the extremism which happens in Bangladesh case also, as the rise of BNP happens there, as the rise of Jamaat-e-Islami happens there, so if a rise of Khalistanis will also happen in Kashmir, then you are also talking about internal security issues of Canada. Please remember that Khalistan, the land which the imaginary land which they are asking for, if it will not be formed in India, so if that imaginary land or that particular land is not formed, where would they be for, trying to make that land? That probably might happen in Canada only, right? Because they are if their majority increase, maybe they may create a land over there, we never know. So this will create a big internal security issue. You go back in terrorism, India continuously told the West that there is a problem of terrorism, but America started understanding terrorism after 9/11 attack. They started understanding what happens in terrorism in Afghanistan, how is Pakistan involved, and how Pakistan has been part of sponsor of terrorism. So if you understand geopolitically, you will also understand economically and internal security wise. Okay, so this is a tweet. You can go with this tweet later on. Okay, then Daniel Boardman. So this is the person, Harinder Sohi, who was also part of the protest. Now he has been suspended. So discuss the recent diplomatic issues between India and Canada, focusing on the factors driving tension, particularly regarding pro-Khalistan activities in Canada. What measures can be taken to strengthen the bilateral relation between the two countries? So a question on this can come up. If you don't understand what is currently happening between the two nations, how would you write it? Probably they can rephrase the question, or the question can come how India-Canada relations can become better in the future, or what can be the impact of current turmoil on the Indian students out there, which go on huge number and gave billions of dollars there, or the current impact of India and Canada on the trade relation. The trade is around $8 billion between India and Canada. So all these questions, all these parameters you need to understand from international affairs point of view. Jagmeet Singh is the main culprit behind all of this. Sandhya Umesh. Yes, one of the main culprits. Okay, now next is Waqf opposition MPs and disassociate them from JPC. So JPC we would be covering in today's UPSC prelims impact, though I've added a slide for your Waqf amendment bill also. So in August 2024, they in the Lok Sabha they introduced Waqf amendment bill 2024 and Musalman Waqf repeal bill 2024, and basically to enhance the management of Waqf property. So basically the management and the governance from Waqf boards and tribunals will shift to state government, centralizing control and addressing administrative issues within the Waqf system. Today we are not discussing the Waqf system, today we are discussing JPC under the prelims impact. So because the JPC committee, the news is related to JPC, and we'll cover Waqf in the coming daily decodes also, please don't worry about it. Currently it's a bill. So JPC stands for Joint Parliamentary Committee. So you need to understand JPC is like a, it will look into one particular subject or one particular bill microscopically. Okay, so it's a group of members, and if a certain subject comes to it or a certain bill comes to it, so it's an ad hoc committee which would be created. It would have members of Lok Sabha also, Rajya Sabha also, opposition members also, from the ruling party also, and then it will look microscopically in the issue and then give its suggestion. Those suggestions are not mandatory on the government. So Joint Parliamentary Committee is an ad hoc committee established by Parliament to conduct a thorough examination of specific subject or bill. They are set up by motion passed from one house and agreed by other. So it is also like a mini parliament to carry out detailed scrutiny. That is why I say it's a microscopic arrangement, or microscopically they will be screening through that particular bill or subject of a specific matter within a specific time frame. So a specific matter would be given to them, for example Waqf bill, and a time frame would be given to them, 2 months, 4 months, 6 months to look after that. So it consists of members from both houses as well as ruling and opposition, and it's chaired by a member of the Lok Sabha, and the member who would be chairing it, he would be appointed by the Speaker of the Lok Sabha. So from MCQ point of view, these are very important statements. Okay, so Parliament determines the composition of JPC, and there is no set limit on the number of members. So there is no set limit that it would be 5 only, or it would be 7 only, or 10. Committee is dissolved after the task has been completed. The JPC has the authority to gather evidence. It can call experts also, public bodies, association, individuals. So the JPC has the authority to gather evidence from experts, public bodies, association, even individuals, interested parties, either on its own initiative or the response when they request for it and whatever the response comes from it. So this is what JPC does, Joint Parliamentary Committee, having members from both the side, opposition also, ruling party also, and it's like a mini parliament. It would be scrutinizing, or it would be microscopically going through the details of a subject or a bill. So how effective have been JPC? See, most importantly, you need to realize that whatever recommendation JPC gives, those are not mandatory in nature. Those are recommendations. So they are advisory in nature and not mandatory for the government to follow. But since in JPC, the ruling government ministers are also there, or ruling government members are also there. So select committee and JPC, which have majority of MPs and heads from the ruling party also, heads from the ruling party are also part of it. Many times, many of the recommendations are accepted. Again, this is not that they have to accept, but if they want to. So government may decide to launch fresh investigation after the JPC. For example, a bill has come, the JPC studies it and says that as per the studying of JPC, this bill has these particular 5 problems. Then government obviously has to give an answer to this. If they want, they can revisit that bill or revisit that subject according to those particular 5 or 7 problems, hypothetically, which I am saying, and then come up with the bill again, if they want to. So government is required to report on the follow-up action taken on the basis of recommendation of the JPC, and once they give these this report to the JPC, the committee, then the JPC submits this committee, which is also known as action taken report, to the parliament, and in the parliament then the government can be questioned. These reports can be discussed in the parliament and government can be questioned on the basis of the what JPC said and what the government did. On the basis of that, government can be questioned. So this is how your JPC works. So there has been some famous cases which came under the JPC, the border Bofora scandal, then Harshad Mehta, then Ketan Parekh scandal or Ketan Parekh share market scam, national NRC 2016, then PDP personal data protection bill 2019, 87 Bofora, 92 Harshad Mehta, 2001 Ketan Parekh, then 2016 national NRC, National Register of Citizen, and PDP personal data protection bill 2019. So here we complete your the second important news for today, or the UPSC impact. JPC has 15 total members, 5 and Lok Sabha. Okay. So this is a comment which has come from Sandhya. Now let's move to the next important news. Factory activity rebounded in October from 8-month low in September. So this is again a follow-up of the news which we had covered on 25th September. October flash PMI signals modest rebound. So we were expecting the manufacturing, because PMI, that is Purchasing Managers Index, it basically focuses on manufacturing, and the manufacturing has rebounded and the numbers which have come are really very good, showing that economy is moving in the right direction. So PMI growth and manufacturing recovery. So India's manufacturing PMI rose from 57.5 in October from 56.5 in September. So if the current, for example, if I say the currently we are in November, for example, if I say if the November's PMI is higher than October's PMI, that means we are doing better. But if November's PMI is less than October's PMI, that means the economy is contracting. And if the November's PMI is more than October's PMI, then the economy is expanding. Okay. So in this expansion, a PMI reading above 50 signifies expansion in manufacturing activity, also in terms of compared to the previous month also. So above 50 expansion, and if it is less than 50, it is contracting. If it is at 50, that means no change is being noticed. So Indian manufacturing PMI rose to 57.5 in October from 56.5. This we have covered, indicating a strong recovery after 3 months of slowing growth, which we saw in the last couple of months. So what has been the contributing factors? First of all, new orders and international sales have increased. New contracts have come from Asia, Europe, Latin America, US. So after 18 months low in September, export orders rebounded. New orders and international sales have increased. sectoral performance, be it consumer or investment goods category, have shown growth. There has been buoyancy in the market, the sales have increased, and hiring uptake. So about 10% more hiring has happened. 10% of firms reported an increase in staffing, while 1% reduced their workforce, but overall 10% is a very high number. Okay, everyone clear till here? Okay. Sanjay, when you are saying na, that JPC has 15 total members with 5 from Rajya Sabha and 10 from Lok Sabha. Basically, Lok Sabha has 10 members. But if you talk about the current JPC, which is looking after the Waqf amendment bill, there are 31 members to it. So that is why I said that there are not particular numbers which have been fixed with JPC. So it's not, it can be 15 also, because the Lok Sabha will have double of the Rajya Sabha members, but it is not 100% that every time it will have 15, it can have more members also. So this I am answering to Sandhya. Okay. So moving on to this, moving forward, now what is Purchasing Managers Index? I have covered this in 5th October also, but I'll just revisit it. So when it comes to Purchasing Managers Index, this is basically like a questionnaire survey which is being sent to a lot of companies, and the manager position or the managerial position heads, they answer the questionnaire, what they are looking, how the market would be, on basically 5 parameters which we would be covering. So it is a survey based measure that asks the respondents about change in their perception about key business variables compared with the previous month. So if the questionnaire would be going to November, so they would be comparing with October and then answering them. So the purpose of PMI is to provide information about current and future business condition, the company makers, analysts, that how market would be, how market is behaving. It is calculated separately for manufacturing and services, and then later on a composite index is also constructed. So 5 key variables which are seen under PMI are new orders, which are 30%, output 25%, employment 20%, suppliers delivery times 15%, stock of items purchased 10%. So these are major 5 key variables which are seen under your PMI. So again, I told you, derived from a series of qualitative questions. The question is sent to manufacturing companies, and the heads, the top heads in these companies which are seeing the numbers, stats, or who are delegated for answering the question, they give their answers, and on the basis of that your PMI comes out. So basically it tells you how on which direction your manufacturing and service sector moving. So a print above 50 means expansion, below 50 means denotes contraction, a reading at 50 indicates no changes. And if a PMI of, for example, the November month PMI is more than the month of October, the economy is moving in a good direction, the economy is expanding. Otherwise, if the November PMI reduces or comes less than the October, it will be show as contracting. So this is it. This we had covered in 25th October also. I told you that these kind of issue, if you continuously read current affair, follow the newspaper, lot of your topics related to your prelims and mains will get covered. Newspaper is very important. If you put effort into it, lot of your UPSC prelims and main syllabus will get covered from it. Okay, so a PMI reading above 50 indicates contraction. No, that is expansion. Okay. Manufacturing growth in October was driven by new orders. Correct. It is survey based. Respond about changes in their perception. Correct. 2 and 3 statements are correct. So you can you will get the PDF. The PDF link is in the description. You can take it and you can also go through the questions. Now moving to the next very, very important article, we need to address India's workplace culture. So this is a wonderful article written by former professor at IIMS Ahmedabad and T.T. Ram Mohan. So he also understands the corporate sector and IIMS Ahmedabad. Who doesn't know about it? Okay. So let's move to this. So in this particular article or in this particular news, I want you to listen to the question and then we'll go to the analysis. Discuss the challenges of toxic work culture in India's private sector and suggest regulatory and organizational measures that could foster a healthier workplace environment. Obviously, UPSC can change the statements or they can change the words of the questions, be it Khalistani issue or be it this particular issue. But again, the context will always remain the same. What happened with Anna Sebastian, and she was working, she got her CA, and everybody knows that, you know, to clear the CA examination and to become CA in India is a big deal, and it is a huge achievement. And within, I think she was working for around 4 or 5 months, and the pressure which she was going through, which she was working in Ernst & Young, she did a suicide, and you know, she is no more. So that's what happened with Anna Sebastian Perel. So, a young chartered accountant allegedly due to work stress triggered concerns about India's corporate work culture, and this also tells us that a person who has cleared the CA examination, when you are clearing this examination, be it CA examination or UPSC examination, a lot of effort is required, and a person who cleared this examination, as per me and as per all the aspirants who are studying for various examinations, this requires a huge amount of effort. And I personally believe that people who clear this, they have the mental stability, they also have the courage, they also have that they can put huge amount of effort in working. But what the mother of Anna Sebastian has said, that in a letter to Ernst & Young, Anna mother cited relentless demands, unrealistic expectation, constant work messages, and glorification over work. So many memes and many reels have come out on this where we are celebrating glorification of work. If the office timing is 9 to 6 and after 6 you are spending 3 more hours in the office, even if they are not a very productive work, then also it is glorified. And sometimes these are also, the higher management sees them that this person is spending 3 hours extra in the office. The question is that those are productive or not productive, that's a very different thing. But since he is more dedicated to the work. But rather our focus should be the amount of work which has been given to that particular person should be completed in 9 to 6. Now, many top multinational companies, be it Indian MNCs or the American or any other MNC companies, what they are doing is that if a job requires, you know, if a particular job requires 2 people to complete it, or if a particular responsibility requires 3 people to complete it, rather than 2 people or 3 people, they will only hire 1 people. So under shortage, or they will hire 1 person to do the job of 3 people. For example, for these 3 people, they had to pay 1 lakh person to everyone. So that becomes 3 lakh. They will hire a person for 1 lakh rupees, and then they will say that you will get extra 50,000 rupees, which they will say that this is organizational stretch, or they will say this is a variable pay, that if you complete these extra 2 tasks also, you will get more 50,000. So in the country like India, where the unemployment is so high, jobs are not increasing at the rate which we want to, and there is so much of population, we tend to take these jobs and undermine our health and increase our stress. And as our stress increases, the chances of going in depression or chances of going or having a stroke also increases. So for this extra 50,000, we start doing work of 2 more people, and this is what is the majority of problem which is happening in major IT and other industries. The higher management, by making the lower management work more, the higher management gets more valuable money, they gets more perks also, but the lower management does not get that, and that is majorly what has been expressed in this article. It has also compared the European system and the American system. Like Europe has around 35 to 40 weeks, 35 to 40 hours per week. The Indian working hours follow the American style. So Americans tend to work more, 50 hours or 55 hours. But there's a huge difference between Americans and Indians. Yes, we are ready to work for 50 hours or 55 hours. But the amount of money or amount of salary which is paid to Americans, we can't even, we can't even match it. And I'm not talking about on triple pay, on purchasing power parity terms. Okay. I am only talking about that they are paid handsomely for working extra, but that does not happen in India. That's the first problem. And second, if Americans feel burnout, or they have some mental issues, or if they have some problems with their boss, or if they have some grievances, there are systems which has been set in the American industry or American companies to take care of it, which is not happening in India. So this article wonderfully expresses what is currently the problem of the Indian industry, Indian companies, how workers are overstressed, how they have been asked to work too much, and how they are burning. So family grievances, and the mother has also said of Anna Sebastian mother, that Anna mothers expressed that despite India's independence in 47, employees continue to work in harsh slave-like conditions. She had written this letter to the EY head, and you won't believe it, when her funeral was being done, nobody from EY even came to her family, and that is why Anna Sebastian Perel issue became viral. And see, the problem is that somebody has to die in our country to talk about workplace culture. That's the biggest problem in our country. When, yesterday we were talking about that, how can we increase women in Supreme Court or higher judiciary? Because the current CGI collegium under Chandrachud sir, it was not able to recommend a women to the. So a problem comes. This is again a very reactionary approach. When the Nirbhaya case happens, then we started talking about law. When Anna Sebastian has died, then we have started talking about workplace culture. This is like a herd mentality. This is a reactive approach. You need to have a proactive approach. That is what I am talking about. So root issue, lack of respect, appreciation, fairness treatment, corporate silence. Corporates don't say anything because they see that we are able to save 1.5 lakhs, 2.5 lakhs, 3.5 lakhs, and HR gets more appraisal if, the budget which is given to her, if she is able to save, more money and give less salaries. That is how the system has been working. So if a job which requires 1 lakh to be paid and the person gets 40,000 rupees for it, and for extra 10,000 rupees which is added as a variable pay, you are making him work for 4 hours. That is what the MNCs are doing, and every company loves it. Most of the companies which I see, so many in many companies, for example, in departments like sales and marketing, which we have seen, so many videos have come. I'm not naming any particular company. You just put some company's name, some bank's name, videos will come out where the boss is, screaming on the employee, or for example, he is also using foul language. So this is the environment which we are working for. Okay. Good evening. Okay, Kavya, I hope if there is any point you want me to explain again, please let me know. Probably, I came in the field of the particular, this particular news and, started explaining it. So if you want me to explain any particular point, please let me know. I'll explain it again. Okay. So what I'm trying to say is that lack of respect, appreciation, and the employees are being harassed. They are being asked to work for more hours. They are being paid less. Even if we compare to the European system, obviously Europeans work for 35 to 40 hours. We follow American system, but American system of working hours and stretch hours, they are paid also highly. 50% of employees in India work at least 49 hours per week. Now, what are the problem with this? This will show that mental burnout in the workforce, India 59%, which is highest in the world. This is highest in the world, highest. Then working 55 plus hours a week, increased health risk, stroke 35%, heart diseases 17%, because if you are working so much, obviously you can't do exercises, you tend to drink a lot, or many people start drinking a lot, or tend to not work out. You don't tend to work out because you don't have any time. Since you're not working out, since you're not exercising, probably you might even be drinking, which is obviously not, I'm not saying statistically, but people tend to do it. And if you're not exercising, your working hours have increased. This is what will happen. Strokes can increase, heart disease can increase. This is what we see. You go to any major IT city, this is what is happening, right? Okay, so I hope this problem you are trying to understand, which is happening. Focus on profit, overall well-being, variable pay, organizational stretch. These words are being used. Work pressure jargons are used. They would say that target and performance-based pay, that if you're able to achieve this, then only the pay will increase. Otherwise, you have to work for more hours. Stress management without cause correction. So the lot of stress, management exercises are done, but hardly anything comes out of it. Comparison with international work culture, I've already explained to you. Abusive work environment, lack of legal resources for mental stress, which are available to Americans and Europeans, are not available. Unfair evaluation, pay disparities. Performance evaluation are often skewed in nature, which basically favors the higher management, not the lower management. This is the biggest issue. For example, there is a task, you have to complete a task X, and then you go for your appraisal. So when you will say that I've completed my task X and my appraisal has to be made, they will say no, X so you had to do. What you did X plus, that will make your salary or increased, or appraisal has to be increased. That is exactly what is going in MNCs. That X was your job, but X plus what you did, and this is what it leads to, that you start taking more burden on yourself. See, I'm not saying that you don't need to work hard. You definitely need to work hard. If you want to burn out or if you want to put more effort, it's equally fine, but it should be properly compensated, and you need to give time to yourself also, because if you don't do so, you will start burning out. Better work culture needs to be there. Grievances are managed. Now, when it comes to public sector, see, there is salary parity is there. You know, the structure would, for example, if a person has, if IAS officers are recruited, IPS officers or army officers, they have a standard pay parity. So that structure is there. So this issue does not arise in a public sector. Grievances are managed. Toxic work culture complaints are rarer as there is less pay disparity. In this context, the government departments are much better. The unions are even much better in them, and they are able to get their demands being accepted by the government departments in many times, and then they the standard DNS allowance increase. All these factors are there, and that is why a lot of youth is still attracted to government jobs, secured government jobs. So corporate initiatives are insufficient, codes of conduct, town hall meeting, all these happens, but the impact of them, if there had been an impact, we don't seeing the suicide of Anna Sebastian Perel. Boards, now boards are also typically in these boards, higher management people are sitting, and they are not so highly motivated to take some actions on it. Need for regulation. Some form of regulation is necessary to hold boards accountable and enforce healthy workplace standards. So these are certain recommendations. I hope this happens in the future. So again, young and restless, what's keeping India awake? Business standard need to face up junk food crisis. 23% Indians overweight. Why is India not exercising enough? India's loneliness crisis explained. Why Gen Z is feeling more isolated. So it is not only about that when you start working a lot, the problem is that you will start, your exercise would also reduce. You're going and hitting the gym or going for runs or doing extra activities because you will not have time. And since if you are working a lot, say working on a system, then you will eventually have you can have problem of a stroke, you can also have a problem of joint problem, muscle problem, and that is why it is important that we need to give ourselves break and start working out. So regulation as a catalyst, regulation could compel companies to assume responsibility, very important, be it MNCs. Hope for change, similar to the Nirbhaya case, I hope the Anna Sebastian case also focuses how we can change this workplace culture. So with this, we move towards the last news for today, that is big techs fail unsafe online spaces for women. Big tech failure. Okay. Good evening, Anil. Good evening, everyone. Please do like, share the lecture, and PDF would be available in the description. So, US presidential campaign and women's safety. So, the time the Kamala Harris entered the presidential race after Joe Biden's withdrawal, the deep fake and the kind of image which was circulated against Kamala Harris as the presidential candidate, they amplified attacks on her character, ethnicity and capabilities, and these deep fake and disinformation campaigns against her started. So before I start this particular news, I also want to tell you that this particular article talks about that how women can be subjugated through their character, ethnicity, capabilities, their sex or body shaming and different other things. I am not saying that the men are not subjugated to this. They can also be subjugated through deep fakes and all other things. But in this article, we are specifically talking about how women are being put under. For example, we saw what happened with Rashmika Mandhana when her deep fake has come out. So, but mainly when it comes to men, mostly disinformation or misinformation happens. But in context of women, deep fake and disinformation also hits the character, ethnicity, capabilities, body shaming and many other things. Okay, so for example, an AI generated image posted by Elon Musk. Please remember, this was posted by Elon Musk, depicting Kamala Harris as a communist dictator. And similarly, he was also put, then AI image of him was generated. Similarly, for Trump was generated. So again, this shows that how AI can be dangerous. And this is not only with happened with Kamala Harris, Georgia Meloni, with many, for that matter, even with Sheikh Hasina, similar incidents have happened. So examples of harassment: digital attacks and disinformation against women. Harris was subjected to memes, manipulated videos and trolling. One viral deepfake video shared by Elon Musk depicted her that she was disparaging Joe Biden and referencing her identity as diversity hire. So we need to realize that there is still a lot of amount of population which does not understand deepfake, which does not understand artificial intelligence, and for them this might be the correct news. So this news which is a fake news or fake images, they are being circulated at the time of elections. Many people might believe that Kamala Harris is a communist. I am not commenting about that she has her roots or left, right or center. It can be anywhere. But creating these images and people who are not aware about, you can certainly change the direction of election results. So be it Nikki Haley, be it Georgia Meloni, and Bangladeshi politician face similar abuse through deepfake and explicit content, raising concerns about women's safety in digital space. We also need to understand, when we talk about OpenAI, Google, Gemini, most of these places, these AI big tech companies, they are dominated by coders which are male. The number of female coders entering the artificial intelligence or companies like Meta, Google, OpenAI are very less. If number of female audiences also increase or female coders also increase, the parity will also come out. Okay, so inadequate moderation: social media platform failure to remove degrading content against women leads to harmful impact on identity, dignity and mental health. And this also happens, when there are continuous reports and users report this content has been put on Twitter or X, formerly Twitter, now X, or Facebook, or for that Meta or Instagram. And now all these big tech companies, they have something called safe harbor protection. This is a very important word. So under this safe harbor protection, they have this legal amenities, or they have this legal recourse or courses, under which what they say is that we are just a platform. Anybody can come and put any content and we are not responsible for it. And this is exactly what they use in the court also. It's a legal provision that protects individual or organization from liability or penalty if certain conditions are met. If you remember WhatsApp, when lot of mob lynching cases happened around 2017 and 18, they said we are just providing the information, but when the government of India continuously spoke to them, pressurized them, then this forward condition came that you cannot forward more than 5 people now, and forward word written would become, lot of things happen. So this it is very important that these tech companies take the responsibility for this. So unlike men who face misinformation, women face objectification, sexualized content and body shaming. This happens a lot. This is generally less compared to when it comes to men. In men, basically misinformation and disinformation happens more. And safe harbor protection save companies, and that is why they are able to relieve themselves from the legal hassles against them. AI and technology as double-edged sword. So gender bias in AI, I have already told you. In this, AI, often celebrated for empowerment, amplifies gender bias due to its dependence on biased data in male-dominated development teams. So again, the development teams or the coders are still, most of them are male. If female will come into them, they will also bring the angle of the feminist angle into this. They will also bring the angle that women are being subjected to the impact of identity, dignity, mental health, objectification, sexualized content and body shaming. So if the female coders also come into it, they would probably be able to come up with these particular angles also. Exclusion of women in AI development. Tech giants like Meta, Google and OpenAI report low numbers of female AI developers. There's one more issue related to it. When you talk about AI developers, these are long stretch hours of working out here. So I'll be very straightforward in seeing this. When it comes to AI development, these are again a problem of long stretch hours of development, be it the gaming world or be it the AI development. And when we talk about long stretch hours of working, again the previous workplace culture article which we have discussed comes here. Okay. So inclusivity and effective challenge to discrimination. So number of female coders or their acceptability in this particular domain needs to be increased. impact on everyday life, social implication of online harassment on women. So if it increases, women who are using social media, they might reduce it or their family might not allow it. Technology platforms responsibility. So despite advancement, platform failed to implement the safety measures. Again, see, if they are not ready to take the female coders right now, first point. Second important point which comes is safe harbor protection. They are not looking towards it. Entire focus is right now on profits, not on working on these particular conditions. So despite advancement, platform fails to implement sufficient safety measure for harmful content. They just put that this is a label, but no action has been taken, and they will put this, that this is a, they will put a label also that this is an explicit content, that too when users are continuously reporting about it. So proactive approach is not being followed. So need for rigorous content and moderation, improved moderation standards need to be increased. Content moderation and safety research needs to be done, addressing reports on explicit content often which exacerbate the harm. Proactive measures, again, even in the workplace culture, proactive approach. Even in OpenAI or when it comes to technology, proactive approach. We should not wait that one more incident happens or somebody gets killed or tortured, then we will start taking proactive actions. So again, the same point, involvement of women in tech development team should increase. Legal and technical measures. Now, we can also put monetary fines and platform restrictions so that these are non-technical measures which can be implemented so that actions can be taken. Recently, we had that issue of on X, then people were putting that hoax bomb call and then the action was taken. So similarly, actions can be taken on this issue as well. Gender bias testing, introduce safety researchers and simulation exercises before new software is coming specifically related to women issues. Again, if women coders or women engineers are part of this team, this would increase a lot. So tech companies' role, so it is ensuring online safety should be tech companies, not just feminist ethnicities or users, and government guardrails should also be there for in terms of regulation against these companies and tech. So the question is, discuss the role of AI and big tech in contributing to unsafe online spaces for women. What measures can be implemented at both technical and regulatory level to ensure safer digital environment? So a lot of information has been given here. You can definitely write an answer on this. In tidbits you have, Pakistan MPs vote to extend tenure of military chiefs from 3 to 5 years. So again, so in Pakistan, the power is commanded by the army. It is not commanded by these politicians who are just puppets. So increasing this 3-year tenure to 5 years only strengthens the Pakistan military. And if Pakistan military is getting strengthened, that does not, it basically means that the political structure out there, or the parliamentary structure, or even the judiciary structure, they are just puppets of the Pakistani military and nothing else. It's not a great exercise which they are delving into. In the extra mile, a case of codifying totalitarianism, you can go through this particular editorial also in extra mile. Thank you very much. I hope you did like the lecture. It was wonderfully interacting with you. And if there is any issue, like Kavya had written, if there is any particular thing you want me to repeat or you want me to explain in detail, I'll do it. Thank you very much. Jai Hind, take care, and do share, like the session, and also press the bell icon, and the PDF is available in the description. Take care and Jai.